The abandoned station floated in silence above a broken planet. Its metal walls were dark, its corridors filled with shadows, and the sound of the crew's boots echoed as they moved carefully inside. They were explorers, searching for anything they could sell or use. Most of the team carried lights and scanners, marking places where old machines still had value. Among them was a young man named Rian. He was not the strongest or the smartest of the group, but he was always curious. Where others followed the map, Rian liked to take side paths, hoping to find something unusual. His friends often laughed at him, saying he would one day step into a trap. But Rian always smiled and said, "The best treasures are not on the map." As they entered a large hall, the crew spread out. Metal crates lay scattered. Wires hung from the ceiling, and the air smelled of rust, while others began pulling open storage boxes. Rian noticed a narrow corridor hidden behind a fallen beam. He squeezed through and raised his light. The passage was quiet. The air felt colder here, as if the walls themselves remembered something long forgotten. At the end stood a tall door, different from the others. It was round, carved with strange lines that glowed faintly when Rian touched them. "Looks important," he whispered to himself. He placed both hands on the door. With a low rumble, the metal shifted, sliding open. A rush of stale air met him. Inside was a small chamber, empty except for a single pod standing in the center. The pod was made of smooth glass, framed in silver metal. Inside, he saw a woman, lying still, as if asleep. Her hair spread across her shoulders, and her face was calm, almost peaceful. Her skin looked untouched by time. She did not look old. She looked as if she had just closed her eyes a moment ago. Rian's breath caught. He called back to the others, "Hey, I found something." But no one answered. His voice echoed in the corridor, then faded into silence. The rest of the crew was too far away to hear. Rian stepped closer to the pod. He felt nervous, yet strangely curious. Who was this woman? Why was she here? The chamber did not look like any medical room. There were no wires, no life support machines, only the pod itself. The glass shimmered faintly, almost like water. He leaned closer, pressing his hand against the surface. The glass was cool to the touch. For a long moment he stared at her face. "She looks like she's just sleeping," Rian whispered. The silence of the chamber made his voice sound too loud. He smiled nervously, his curiosity mixing with a playful mood. The crew would not believe him if he told them he had found a sleeping woman in a forgotten station. They would laugh at him again. He looked at her lips. "What if I kiss her and tell them?" He muttered with a grin. "They'd think it's the funniest story." Rian knew it was silly, but the thought stuck in his mind. No one was here to see. It was only a joke, a harmless act. Slowly, he leaned down, pressing his lips lightly to hers through the thin layer of energy that covered the pod. For a moment, nothing happened. He laughed at himself, ready to step back. But then her eyes opened. Rian froze. The woman's eyes glowed, faintly, not like human eyes but brighter, as if a hidden light burned inside them. She looked straight at him, and her lips moved. Her voice was soft, almost like a whisper carried through the glass. "Now you share my sentence." Rian stumbled backward, his heart pounding. The glass of the pod cracked with a sharp sound, and light spilled into the chamber. The markings on the walls began to glow brighter, spreading like veins of fire. "No, no, no," Rian whispered, shaking his head. The pod split open with a hiss. The woman slowly sat up, her movements graceful yet heavy, as if she carried a grate. "Wait." Her eyes focused on Rian, calm but filled with something ancient. The ground trembled beneath them. Dust fell from the ceiling, and the metal groaned. It was as if the station itself had awakened with her. Rian tried to speak, but his voice caught in his throat. Finally, he forced out a word. Who are you?" The woman stepped out of the pod. She stood tall, her presence commanding even, though she wore no armor, no crown. Her bare feet touched the floor, and the glowing lines from the walls moved toward her, wrapping around her like invisible chains. She looked at Rian again and said, "I am the prisoner of this place. You touched me, and now the chains are yours too." Rion's arms began to burn. He looked down and saw faint symbols appearing on his skin, glowing like the marks on the walls. They spread slowly, pulsing with a strange rhythm, almost like a heartbeat. "No," he whispered, fear rising in his chest. "This isn't real. It can't be real." The chamber shook again, louder this time. From outside the quarter, faint shouts echoed. The rest of the crew had noticed the disturbance. Rian turned to run, but when he tried, his feet felt heavy. It was as if unseen hands pulled at him, holding him close to the woman. She tilted her head slightly, watching him with calm eyes. "You should not have touched me," she said. "But now it is done." Rian swallowed hard. His mouth was dry, and his mind spun with confusion. "What sentence?" he asked, his voice breaking. The woman's expression softened, though her eyes still glowed. "An endless one. A punishment. Meant for me alone. But you have bound yourself to it." The crew's voices grew louder in the distance, rushing toward the chamber. Rion's light flickered, then went out, leaving only the glow of the markings and the woman's eyes. He realized that his joke had awoken something far beyond his understanding. And now, no matter how much he wanted to deny it, he was no longer free. The woman stood beside him, the chains of light pulsing between them. The chamber door rattled as the others arrived, but Rian knew everything had already changed. The forgotten prisoner was awake, and he was no longer just Rian. He was part of her sentence. The chamber door burst open with a metallic crash. 3 members of the crew rushed inside, their flashlights cutting through the glowing haze. The first to enter was Lena, carrying a scanner in one hand and a shock rifle in the other. Behind her came Darren and Sol, both tense, their eyes darting at the strange lights dancing along the walls. "What happened here?" Lena shouted, her voice echoing through the chamber. Rian stood frozen beside the open pod, his arms glowing faintly with shifting symbols. The woman was standing near him, her posture calm. Her glowing eyes locked on him. She woke up. Rian said, his voice unsteady. Lena's eyes widened as her light fell on the woman. For a second, she looked stunned, unable to speak. Then she raised her weapon, step away from her. The woman tilted her head but did not move. The glowing markings on the walls pulsed brighter, as if responding to her presence. A soft hum filled the air, and the metal floor trembled beneath their boots. "She's not attacking," Rian said quickly. "Don't shoot. She should not even be alive," Darren muttered. His voice carried fear. This place was dead for centuries. Nobody survives that long. The woman finally spoke, her tone calm and clear. "You are intruders. But I did not hold anger toward you. It is him." She turned her gaze to Rian. "Who carries my chains now?" Lana's grip tightened on her. "Weapon? Chains? What chains?" The woman slowly raised her hand and pointed at Rian's arms. The glowing marks on his skin shone brighter, spreading further across his forearms and climbing toward his shoulders. "He touched me, and the bond formed," she said. "The sentence I carried alone is now his as well. He is tied to me until the end." Rian's chest tightened. "I didn't mean to. I didn't know." "No one who binds themselves ever means to," the woman answered softly. The crew exchanged uneasy looks. Sol whispered, "We should leave. Whatever this is, it's too dangerous." But Lena shook her head. Her eyes were sharp, watching both Rian and the woman. "Not yet. We need answers first." The chamber grew louder as the glowing lines on the walls stretched and pulsed. The floor vibrated harder. The ship outside groaned, echoing through the corridors as if the entire station had awakened. "What's happening to this place?" Darren shouted over the sound. The woman closed her eyes briefly. "The prison recognizes my freedom. It reshapes itself to contain me again. But it will follow him as well now." She opened her eyes and looked at Rian. "Where I go, he goes. Where I am trapped, he will be too." Rian staggered back, shaking his head. "You mean I'm trapped with you?" Her gaze did not waver. Yes, fear washed over him. His joke, a playful act done in a moment of foolishness, had chained him to something far beyond his understanding. He felt the marks on his arms burning, as if invisible chains pulled at him. The crew reacted with panic. Darren backed toward the door. We should cut him free. Maybe if we break the marks, it will end. No, the woman said sharply, her voice strong. If you try to break it, the chains will only dig deeper. They are alive, bound by the will of the prison. They will tear his body apart before they release him. Silence fell. Only the hum of the glowing chamber filled the air. Rian forced himself to speak. Who are you? Why were you locked in here? The woman lowered her eyes for a moment, then looked back at him. My name is Mira. Long ago, I stood against an empire that believed it had the right to enslave whole worlds. For that defiance, they created this place to hold me. It was not meant to kill me, but to keep me alive and endless. Exile. Her words carried a weight of centuries. The crew stared at her, uneasy but fascinated. Lena finally lowered her weapon slightly. So you're saying, you've been here for hundreds of years? Maybe longer. Mira nodded. Time does not pass for me as it does for you. My sentence was meant to be eternal. Rian felt a chill run down his spine, and now it's mine. Too. Yes, Mira said softly. The walls pulsed again, brighter than before. The air grew heavy, as if the station itself pressed down on them. Mira turned her gaze toward the ceiling, her expression hard. It is trying to close again. She said, the prison is alive, built to chase me if I ever awoke. The more I move, the more it will spread. You mean this station, this whole place, it's the prison? Soul asked in disbelief. Not only the station, Mira replied. The prison will twist any place I stand. It will shape reality itself to keep me bound. And now, she looked at Rian again. It will bind him too. The weight of her words hung in the air. The crew shifted uneasily. Lena finally spoke. If that's true, then staying here is death. We need to get back to the ship. We need to leave before this place collapses. Mira's eyes softened slightly. Leaving will not free him. Wherever he goes, the chains will follow. You cannot run from them. The crew stared at Rian. His arms were glowing brighter now, the marks creeping toward his neck. Panic stirred inside him, but he forced himself to stand straight. Then what do I do? He asked. If I'm stuck with this, tell me what I'm supposed to do. Mira stepped closer, her movements calm but filled with strength. You endure. You carry it as I did. You resist the prison's will. And perhaps, she paused, her glowing eyes narrowing with thought, perhaps there is more. You are human, not of the empire that created this curse. The prison does not know you. That may give you a chance to fight it. Rian felt his heart pound harder. Fight it? The thought terrified him, but it also gave him a spark of hope. The chamber shook violently. Dust rained from the ceiling, and the walls rippled with light. Lena shouted, we need to move. Now, Mira looked at Rian and spoke with quiet certainty. Stay near me. If you fall too far away, the chains will tear you apart. Fear clenched his chest. But he nodded. The crew rushed out of the chamber, their lights bouncing across the shaking corridor. Mira walked calmly beside Rian, though her presence made the walls hum louder. The station twisting around them as if trying to drag her back. As they moved, Rian could not stop glancing at the glowing marks on his arms. Each step made them pulse, brighter, as if they were alive. He had no idea what future awaited him. But one truth burned in his mind with one foolish act. He had bound himself to a stranger from the past, a prisoner of eternity, and now he shared her curse. The corridor shook as the crew hurried through it. Metal beams groaned overhead, and sparks rained down from broken panels. The entire station seemed alive now, bending and shifting like a beast that had been disturbed. Rian stayed close to Mira. The marks on his arms glowed brighter with every step, pulsing in rhythm with the hum of the station. At times he felt invisible chains pulling him backward, as though the chamber wanted him to return. Only Mira's calm presence beside him kept the pull from tearing him down. Lena led the way, her light cutting through the flickering halls. Darren and Soul carried what equipment they could, their faces tight with fear. None of them spoke at first. The sound of collapsing walls and Mira's steady footsteps were the only noise in the silence of the dying station. Finally, Lena glanced back at Rian. Her voice was sharp. You need to explain what you did, Rian. Rian's throat tightened. He wanted to lie. to say he had no choice, but he forced the truth out. I found her in the pod. She looked asleep. I touched the glass. Then I kissed her as a joke. That's when she woke up. The others stopped for a moment, staring at him in disbelief. You kissed her, Darren said, his voice rising. In a place like this? Are you mad? Rion's face burned. I didn't know it would matter. It was just a joke. A joke that's going to kill us all, Sol muttered. Mira's voice broke the argument. The act itself did not matter. The touch did. The bond only forms when contact is made by choice. Even if the choice is foolish, the glow round Rion's arms flared at her words. As if confirming her claim, he swallowed hard. Lena shook her head in frustration. This is worse than I thought. If the station really is reacting to her freedom, then none of us are safe. Look around you, the walls are closing in. They turned the corner, only to find the corridor had bent inward. What had once been a wide path was now a narrow tunnel, its walls pressed tight like ribs of some vast creature. Strange glowing lines spread across the metal, the same patterns that burned on Rion's skin. The crew hesitated. Mira stepped forward without fear, her glowing eyes calm. As she passed, the walls shifted back slightly, just enough for them to squeeze through. Rion followed quickly, the pull of the chains making it impossible to stray far. Each step felt heavier to him now. The marks on his arms seemed to grow under his skin. Pushing deeper, tugging at his bones, he gritted his teeth but said nothing. He did not want the others to see his fear. When they finally reached the docking bay, the sight of their ship filled them with relief. The small vessel rested on the cracked metal floor, its lights flickering but steady. Lena rushed ahead and began opening the hatch. As they climbed inside, Rion staggered, nearly falling. Mira caught his arm, her touch steady but firm. You feel the weight, she said softly. Rion nodded, his chest tight. It's like chains dragging me down. Every step feels heavier. That is the prison, Mira replied. It does not only trap the body, it weighs on the soul. You will feel it more as time passes. He met her eyes, searching for some sign of pity or hope, but her gaze remained calm and ancient. Inside the ship, the crew quickly strapped in. Lena took the pilot's seat while Sol began powering the engines. The hum of the ship filled the air as systems came online. For a moment, Rion felt a spark of hope. Maybe they could escape the collapsing station. But Mira shook her head. The chains do not care about distance. The prison is not tied to this place alone. Wherever I go, it will follow. And now it follows him too. Lena's hands froze on the controls. Are you saying the station's corruption will spread to the ship? Yes. Mira said calmly. You have already carried it with you. Almost on cue. The lights in the ship flickered. The walls groaned as if the vessel itself had become part of the prison. Faint glowing lines appeared across the metal, crawling like cracks of light. Darren cursed under his breath. We're doomed. Rion slammed his fist against the console. There has to be a way to stop it. There has to be. Mira turned to him. There is no way to stop it. Only to endure it. That has been my sentence for centuries, and now it is yours. The ship lifted from the docking bay, its engines straining as if something invisible pulled against it. Outside the window, the station twisted on itself, massive beams curling like bent arms. The stars beyond flickered strangely, some vanishing, as though swallowed by unseen hands. As the ship pushed into space, Rion felt the pull of the chains tighten in his chest. His vision blurred, and he gripped a chair to steady himself. Mira placed a hand on his shoulder. The weight lessened slightly at her touch. The bond is strong, she said. You cannot survive it alone. Stay near me, and you may endure. Rion nodded. Breathing hard, he could not deny it anymore. He was tied to her, whether he wanted to be or not, when the ship reached clear space. Lena set the autopilot and turned to face them. Her face was pale, her voice edged with anger. This can't continue. We can't carry her and him with us. If this curse follows wherever they go, it will consume us too. So what are you saying? Sol asked quietly. Lena's eyes narrowed. I'm saying we may have to cut them loose. Rion felt his stomach drop. He opened his mouth to argue, but Mira spoke first. You cannot cut the chains without killing him, and if you kill him, the chains will return to me. Either way, the prison remains. It will not vanish, the crew said in silence. The hum of the engines and the faint pulse of glowing lines across the walls filled the air. Rian clenched his fists. I'm not asking any of you to carry this. It's my mistake. I'll deal with it. You won't last alone. Mira said calmly, the chains break all who try to resist without help. That is why I endured centuries in silence. But you? She studied him for a long moment. You are human. Different. Perhaps you may find a way I never could. Her words settled over him like a strange mix of hope and dread. Rian did not know if she was giving him comfort or warning him of something worse to come. The ship drifted onward, its walls glowing faintly with the curse. The crew sat in uneasy silence. Each lost in thought, Rian stared at his glowing arms, the weight pressing harder on him, and realized the truth. This was no longer just her prison. It was his as well. The ship drifted through dark space, its engines low, its lights flickering faintly under the weight of the strange energy. The crew sat quietly, their minds heavy with fear and questions. No one spoke for a long time. The only sound was the hum of the engines and the faint pulsing glow crawling across the walls. Rian sat near Mira, his arms covered with glowing marks that spread slowly higher toward his shoulders. The weight of the chains pulled at him, but he forced himself to stay steady. He knew that if he showed weakness, the crew might lose all hope. Finally, Lena broke the silence. We need answers. Mira, if that is your name, tell us why you were locked away. Tell us what exactly this prison is. Mira sat calmly, her glowing eyes steady. She looked at the crew one by one, then finally rested her gaze on Rian before speaking. A long time ago, before your kind reached the stars, there was an empire. It was vast and cruel. It ruled not with kindness, but with fear. It conquered world after world, enslaving entire races. I was born under their rule, but I refused to bow. Her voice was calm, but there was strength behind it, like steel wrapped in silk. I gathered others, she continued. We fought against the empire's chains. We freed planets, broke their ships, and tore down their outposts. We were only a handful, but our will was greater than their armies. They began to fear us. Darren leaned forward. And what happened? If you were winning, why are you here? Mira's expression grew hard. The empire could not kill me. They tried. But when I did not fall, they built something worse. They created a living prison, a curse of chains, designed not to destroy me, but to bind me forever. They feared that if I died, my cause would only spread. So instead, they trapped me, sealed in silence for eternity. Her words fell heavy in the cabin. The crew exchanged uneasy looks. You mean, Sol said quietly, you've been alive like this for centuries? Trapped, waiting. Mira nodded. Yes, time does not pass for me as it does for you. I remained in that pod, bound by chains unseen, while the universe changed around me. And now, because he touched me, she looked at Rian again. The prison has chosen him as well. Rian swallowed, his throat dry. He wanted to speak, but the weight on his chest made it hard. Why me? I'm no fighter. I'm no hero. I'm just me. Mira's gaze softened slightly. That does not matter. The prison does not choose by strength. It binds whoever steps willingly into its circle. You touched me with your own choice, even if you thought it meaningless. The chains saw it as enough. Lena frowned. And what does that mean for him? For us, Mira's voice was steady. It means he will not age as you do. The chains will hold him in slow time, as they did me. He will carry the weight of exile, the pull of the prison. For as long as it lasts, Rian's heart sank. The idea of endless years, trapped in something he had never asked for, filled him with dread. But, Mira added, her eyes narrowing as though in thought, there may be something different with him. He is human. The Empire never knew your kind. The chains were not designed with you in mind. That may give you a chance to resist in ways I never could. Hope flickered faintly in Rian's chest. Though it was tangled with fear, the crew sat in silence again, Mira's story settling over them like a heavy blanket. Finally, Darren broke it with a harsh voice. This is all too much. You're telling us we've got some ancient empire's curse on board, and it's tied to him? If it spreads to the ship, we're done. We should cut them loose before it's too late. No. Rian snapped, his voice breaking through the quiet. Don't even think about it. I didn't ask for this, but I'm still your crew. I'm not abandoning you, and I won't let you abandon me. Darren glared at him, but said nothing. Mira looked calmly at the others. If you cast us out, the prison will still spread. You have already touched it by stepping inside its walls. Leaving me behind will not save you. The curse is part of your vessel now. The only choice is whether you face it with me or without. Her words sent a chill through them. Sol rubbed his face, his voice heavy with worry. So no matter what we do, we're in this mess now. Yes, Mira answered simply. The ship shuddered suddenly, the lights flickering harder. Outside, the stars seemed to bend strangely, some stretching like smudges of light, others fading entirely. The crew stared in shock. What is that? Lena whispered. The prison, Mira said. It is reshaping space itself. It does not only trap walls of metal, it traps skies, stars, even time. Wherever I go, it builds its cage again. The crew grew pale at her words. Rian pressed a hand to his glowing arm, feeling the steady burn of the marks. If it's endless, if there's no escape, how did you last this long? How did you survive? Mira's eyes darkened, though her voice stayed calm. By silence, by endurance, by waiting for centuries, watching my own thoughts circle endlessly, knowing there was no end. The chains did not only hold the body, they weighed down the mind. I endured because I had no choice. Her words struck Rian like a stone. He imagined centuries alone in silence, never aging, never moving freely. Chained by a curse with no escape. His chest grew tight at the thought. But Mira looked at him differently now, as if studying him. You are not like me, she said. You speak quickly, you feel quickly, you are full of fire. That fire may make you break, or it may make you fight. Rian met her gaze, fear and defiance mixing inside him. He wanted to say he would not break, but doubt gnawed at him. He was not strong. He was not brave. He was only Rian, a scavenger who had made a foolish choice. Lena leaned forward, her voice firm. Mira, if there is any chance to end this, you need to tell us. There must be something. Some weakness, some way to fight the prison. Mira was silent for a moment. Then she said, the prison has a heart, a core of living energy. It is buried, deep within its design, hidden beyond doors and walls of shifting metal. If it could be reached, if it could be faced, perhaps its chains could be broken. But no one has ever reached it. I tried. Long ago, the chains tore me down before I could even step close. Her glowing eyes turned back to Rian. But you are different. You are not bound as I was. You are new to its grip. Perhaps, together, we could try again. The words hung in the air, heavy with danger, impossibility. The crew stared at Rian. His heart pounded as he realized what she was suggesting. For the first time, he was not only tied to her sentence, he was being asked to fight it. The small ship drifted silently through space. The stars outside twisted and bent by the strange power Mira carried. Inside, tension filled the cabin. The glowing marks on Rian's arms pulsed faintly, and Mira sat nearby, calm but watchful. The crew was unsettled, their nerves fraying with every passing moment. Lena leaned back in her seat, her arms crossed. We cannot keep going like this, she said sharply. Every moment we carry her, every moment we carry him, the prison spreads. It's only a matter of time before it consumes the ship. Sol rubbed his temples. She's dangerous, yes, but the boy Riani's just unlucky. He didn't ask for this. We shouldn't punish him for a mistake. Lena shook her head. It's not about punishment. It's about survival. We can't let this thing grow stronger. If we don't act, it will destroy us all. Darren, sitting near the back, finally spoke. His voice was low but firm. Lena's right. We can't trust this prisoner. We don't even know what she's capable of. She's been alive for centuries. Who knows what her mind has learned? This curse, it's not just a burden. It's a weapon. Rian felt anger rise in him. He stood abruptly, making the chair scrape against the metal floor. You think I would let you hurt her, or that I would run? No. This is my fault. I carry the chains. I will not abandon her, and I will not let any of you treat her like a threat." The cabin fell silent. Mira's glowing eyes studied him carefully. She did not speak, but Rian could feel her approval in her calm gaze. Lana's hands trembled slightly as she gripped the control panel. "You don't understand. This isn't a game. This is real. If the prison spreads, we're all finished." Mira finally spoke, her voice even but commanding. "The prison will not spare anyone because of fear or anger. It only responds to will. You can abandon me, but it will still follow him. It will still spread. No one is safe by leaving me behind." Darren ran a hand through his hair. "Frustrated. So we just stay here, carry this thing. What kind of future is that? Years? Maybe centuries of slow death. We can't do that." Rian's voice was steady, though his heart raced. "Then we fight, if there's even a small chance to survive. We fight. I'm not afraid of this. I will carry the chains, and I will endure it. I've made my choice." Lana's hands dropped, and she stared at him for a long moment. "You're a fool," she whispered. Though her eyes betrayed uncertainty, Rian turned to Mira. "Tell me what we need to do. I don't care how dangerous it is. I won't leave you alone." Mira nodded slowly. "There is a way to weaken the chains, to challenge the prison's power. It will not be easy. The core is buried deep, hidden by walls that shift and by puzzles the mind cannot always see. Only the bond of will can reach it. You and I together may succeed." Darren groaned. "This is insane. We are not soldiers. We are not heroes. We're a small crew with a few tools. And now we're supposed to fight. What? Some ancient curse?" "Yes," Mira said softly. "And if we fail, the chains will not only claim us, they will claim this entire vessel and all who sail within it." Sol looked at Rian. "Do you really think you can endure it? Even with her? This curse has destroyed centuries of life." Rian clenched his fists. "I don't know if I can, but I do know that I will try, and I will not abandon her. That is my choice, and it will give us a chance." The cabin grew tense. As the crew weighed their options, fear battled hope in each of them. Some thought survival meant leaving Mira and Rian behind. Others felt that helping them was the only way to survive the prisons. Spread Lena finally stood, pacing the small cabin. Her voice was sharp, though not angry. "We need a decision. If we stay, we fight with them. If we leave, we risk nothing for ourselves. But how can we know it will help?" Mira's eyes glowed faintly in the dim light. "The prison does not care for the weak or the strong. It only tests endurance. To face it, one must choose courage. If fear rules your actions, it will consume you before the chains ever touch you." The words hung in the air. Silence fell once more. Darren finally spoke, voice trembling. I don't know if I can stay. I want to survive. I want this to end without me dying in chains that I cannot even see." Sol placed a hand on Darren's shoulder. "I feel the same. But if we leave, are we truly safe, or is the prison already inside us?" Rian felt the weight of Mira's hand on his arm. It was calm, steady, reassuring. "You're afraid," Mira said softly. "That is natural. But you must decide. Fear will not save you. Courage will not guarantee safety. But it will give you a chance." The crew sat in silence again, thinking. Rian's arms glowed brighter as the chains pulsed in his veins. He could feel the pull, the weight, the slow burn of the curse. And yet, beside him, Mira stood calm, a beacon of strength against the unknown. Finally, Lena took a deep breath. "We stay. We help them. But we do it carefully. We do it smart. No heroics. No foolish risks." Darren nodded reluctantly. "If we're doing this, we do it together. I'll follow you, Rian. But I don't know how much longer I can handle this fear." Sol exhaled slowly. "Then we follow. Together, if we fail, at least we fail united." Rian felt a strange warmth in his chest. For the first time since the awakening, he did not feel alone. The crew had made their choice. They would not abandon him or Mira. Mira's glowing eyes softened as she looked at them all. "Then it begins. The chains will test you. The prison will try to break your minds. But together, we may reach the core. Together, we may survive. Rion flexed his glowing arms. The marks pulsed with a stronger rhythm now, not just burning, but alive. He knew the road ahead would be dangerous, frightening, and uncertain. But he was ready. The ship drifted forward, leaving the twisted remnants of the abandoned station behind. Beyond the windows, stars stretched and shimmered under the strange influence of the curse. And the crew braced themselves for the unknown. Rion's gaze met Mira's. "I'm ready," he said. "And I am with you," she replied. The crew had chosen their path. Fear still lingered, but hope and courage flickered brighter. Together, they would face the chains, the prison, and whatever lay ahead. The weight of the chains pressed on them all, but for the first time, they felt a small spark of control. They were no longer just survivors. They were fighters. The ship drifted through empty space. Its lights dim under the pull of the chains that radiated from Rion and Mira. Outside, the stars seemed to bend and shimmer, as if the prison itself reached across the void, shaping reality around them. The crew sat tense, each feeling the weight of the curse pressing on their minds. Rion stared at his glowing arms. The symbols pulsed steadily, like the heartbeat of something alive. Each pulse reminded him that he was bound, that there was no turning back. Mira stood near the ship's console, her calm presence anchoring him. "The chains are strongest where the prison is closest," she said softly. "The further we go from its heart, the easier it becomes to endure. But the heart is hidden. To face it, we must travel into the center of its creation." Lena glanced at her. The center. How do we even find that? Mira's glowing eyes met hers. The prison hides itself with illusions and shifting space. Walls bend, paths vanish, and time moves strangely. Only those who endure its pull, who do not fear, can reach it. That is why few have survived. Rion swallowed hard. "And if we fail?" "The chains will tighten," Mira replied calmly. "They will try to pull your soul apart before your body fails. You will not die immediately, but the prison will make every moment unbearable. That is the cost of failure." The cabin fell silent. The crew absorbed the weight of her words. Each member knew they could face horrors beyond imagination. Darren rubbed his face. "So we're talking about centuries of pain, maybe worse. And we're supposed to just march into it." Mira's voice was steady. "The prison tests the mind and the heart. Courage can guide the steps. Fear will drag you down." Rion flexed his glowing arms. "Then I'll face it. I don't care how hard it is. I won't let it destroy us." The ship shook suddenly, as if responding to his determination. The walls pulsed with faint lines of light, spreading slowly like veins. Mira moved closer. "You must understand," she said. "The chains bind us because they are alive. They sense weakness and exploit it. They sense courage and attempt to challenge it. You must remain strong. Do not let the prison see your doubt." Lena adjusted the controls. "How do we even know where to go? The stars are twisted. Nothing looks real." Mira's eyes glowed brighter. "The prison's heart is not marked by sight. It is marked by resonance. We must follow the pull of the chains themselves. The stronger they burn, the closer we are." Rion nodded, gripping the edge of the console. Each pulse in his arms now felt like a signal, a warning, and a guide. He had to trust it. The hours passed, and the ship moved deeper into the strange void. The stars beyond became more distorted. Some vanished entirely, replaced by flickers of strange light. The crew grew restless, fear creeping into their movements. Sol finally spoke, voice trembling. "I can't help but feel we're being watched, like something knows we're coming." Mira's gaze met his. "You are correct. The prison is alive. It senses each of us. It sees our minds, our hearts, our fears. It will try to manipulate you. Do not respond to its illusions. Only focus on your path and your will." Rion gritted his teeth. "I can do that. I have to." Ours stretched into what felt like days. The crew took turns at the controls, each of them feeling the pull of the chains in their own way. Rion felt his glowing arms burn brighter with every passing moment. It was exhausting, but it also guided them. Finally, the ship approached a strange formation in space. A massive structure floated, unlike any station they had seen. Its surface rippled with glowing lines, twisting like living metal. The light pulsed in rhythm with Rion's own chains. "This is it," Mira said softly. The heart of the prison. The crew stared in awe and fear. The structure seemed to move subtly, reshaping itself as if aware of their approach. The air in the cabin grew thick, even in the vacuum of space. They could feel the presence pressing against them. Rion felt the chains burn fiercely. His arms glowed brighter than ever. "It knows me," he whispered. "It sees me." "Yes," Mira said calmly. "It senses your courage and your doubt. It will attempt to break you before you even enter." Lena checked the navigation systems. "We have to land." Mira shook her head. "We do not land. The prison's heart is not physical in the usual sense. We must enter, guided by the chains. Do not let fear control your actions." The ship moved carefully toward the structure. As they approached, the glowing lines on its surface shifted, forming patterns that twisted and bent as if alive. The ship trembled under the pressure, warning lights flashing. Rion felt the pull of the chains stronger than ever. His arms burned with light, the symbols spreading toward his neck and shoulders. He could not ignore it. The chains demanded attention, and he focused all his energy on enduring, on keeping control. Mira's presence beside him helped. Her calm energy pushed back against the pull, giving him a measure of strength. "The core is close," she said softly. "We must synchronize our wills. Together, we can reach it. Alone, it will destroy you." Rion nodded. "I'm ready." The crew watched in tense silence as the ship moved into the glowing structure. The walls of the prison seemed to ripple outward, creating a twisting corridor of light and metal. The stars outside vanished entirely. They were surrounded by nothing but the pulsing energy of the prison. Every step forward burned with intensity. The chains pulled at Rion, tugging at his body and mind. Doubt whispered at him, telling him to stop, to turn back, to give up. But Mira's calm voice and steady presence reminded him to resist. "You can endure," she whispered. "Do not falter." Rion gritted his teeth and focused. Each step he took, each pulse of the chains, guided him closer to the heart. The glow of his arms burned brighter, stronger, alive. The crew followed silently, supporting him and Mira. Every corner of the twisting structure tested them. Shadows appeared, faint voices whispered in their minds, and walls shifted unexpectedly. Each illusion sought to break their courage. But Rion pressed forward. Mira guided him. Together, they pushed past the tricks of the prison, reaching deeper into its living structure. At last, a massive chamber opened before them. The walls pulsed with radiant light, the core of the prison shining in the center. It was vast, impossible to describe fully. It hummed with energy, alive and aware. "This is it," Mira said softly. "The heart, the chains originate here. If we are to break the sentence, it must be faced." Rion felt the chains burn fiercely. The glow on his arms blazed like fire, yet he did not falter. He knew the challenge ahead would test every ounce of his strength and courage, and in that moment, he realized the true meaning of his sentence. It was not just to endure, but to confront, to resist, and perhaps to survive. The core waited, alive and watchful, as Rion, Mira, and the crew prepared for the most dangerous step of their journey yet. The chamber of the prison's core stretched endlessly before them, its walls alive with twisting light and pulsing energy. The glow of Rion's arms burned brighter than ever, casting long shadows across the crew and Mira. The air, or what felt like air in this strange space, vibrated with the heartbeat of the living prison. "This is it," Mira said softly, her calm voice steadying them all. "The heart of the prison. The chains you carry, Rion, begin here. If you falter, it will tear at your mind, your soul, and your body." Rion took a deep breath, gripping the glowing lines on his arms. "I won't falter," he said, though his heart pounded with fear. The crew moved close, their faces pale but determined. Lana's hands were steady on the controls that monitored the ship's systems. Sol and Darren standing ready to support, to act if needed. Mira stepped forward, her presence glowing brighter than before. "We must synchronize our will," she said. "Together, we are stronger. Alone, It will destroy you. Rian nodded. He focused on the rhythm of the chains. Feeling their pulse as both a burden and a guide, he mirrored Mira's calm energy, letting it flow into him, steadying his racing thoughts. The heart of the prison seemed aware of their determination. Pulses of light surged outward, and the glowing lines on the walls twisted faster, reaching toward Rian as if to claim him. The pull of the chains intensified, tugging at every fiber of his being. Hold your ground. Mira whispered. Do not let fear rule you. Fear feeds the prison. Rian gritted his teeth and resisted. Each step he took forward burned with intensity, the chains lashing at his arms and mind. His vision blurred, but he pressed on, focusing only on Mira. In the core ahead, the crew flinched as the walls around them twisted and morphed. Strange voices echoed in their minds, whispering doubts, fears, and regrets. Darren muttered under his breath, "It knows everything. It sees everything, yes." Mira replied calmly, "And it tests you. It will use everything it knows to break your resolve. But we will not be broken." Rian's arms pulsed fiercely. The glowing symbols climbed toward his shoulders, burning like fire, but also guiding him toward the center. He reached out instinctively, toward the core, letting the chains themselves lead him. The moment his hands brushed the pulsing light of the core, the chamber shifted violently. A wave of energy shot outward, knocking the crew off their feet. Rian barely held on, the chains tugging at his very soul. He felt fear creep in, but he pushed it back. Mira stepped beside him, her hand on his arm. "You are not alone," she said. "Together, we are stronger than it expects." The core pulsed again, brighter, as if testing them, questioning their right to approach. Rian gritted his teeth and forced his mind to calm. He felt Mira's steady will flow into him, a guiding light against the chaos. "You must endure." Mira whispered, "Do not resist the pain. Accept it, and let it teach you control." Rian's chest ached as the chains tugged harder. His vision swam, shadows twisting into shapes that mocked and threatened. But he breathed deeply, focusing on Mira, on the crew, and on the pulse of the chains. Slowly, the pain began to stabilize, becoming a rhythm he could follow. The glowing marks on his arms spread fully across his shoulders now, burning bright, yet he could control them. He had reached a strange balance, neither resisting nor surrendering. The chains were part of him, and yet he was stronger than their pull. The prison's heart pulsed again, slower now. Aware that its challenge had been met with courage, Mira placed her hand on the core, guiding Rian's hands to join hers. "Focus," she said softly. "Bind your will to mine. Together, we will shape the prison." Rian mirrored her actions, feeling the pulse of the chains in harmony with hers. Slowly, the massive chamber began to change. The twisting walls softened, the pulsing lines of light becoming steady. Steady enough that he could sense control. The core's energy surged one final time. Testing them both, Rian felt the chains clawing at him, demanding surrender, threatening endless pain. But he tightened his focus, letting the fear flow through him without breaking him. "You are ready," Mira whispered. "Now, Rian, give your choice." Rian drew a deep breath, focusing all his will. "I choose freedom, not just for me, but for her, for us all." The pulse of the chains flared, then stilled. The glowing symbols on his arms shone one last time, then softened. Mira's hands guided his, and together, they reached deep into the core. The prison resisted, twisting light and sound around them, but they held their will steady. Slowly, the energy began to fold inward, as if the chains themselves were being reshaped, no longer a weapon of punishment but a bond of endurance. Rian felt the pull lessen. The burning marks faded to a soft glow, the chains now a part of him, not against him. Mira smiled faintly, her glow calm and steady. "It is done," she said softly. "You have passed the test. The sentence has changed. You endure, but you are free from eternal torment. The prison will no longer claim your mind." The crew watched in awe as the chamber's walls solidified, the pulsating lines of light settling into calm. The stars outside returned to normal, no longer twisted or vanished. The ship itself felt lighter, freer. Rian sank to his knees, exhaustion and relief washing over him. Mira crouched beside him. "You have done what few could," she said quietly. "The chains are no longer a curse. They are now a mark of strength, a bond that reminds you of courage." Lena stepped forward, her eyes wide. We survived. All of us." Darren and Sol nodded, relief plain on their faces. The weight of fear lifted, though the memory of the prison's test would remain. Rian looked at Mira, gratitude and awe filling his heart. "Thank you," he whispered. "I didn't know if I could do it, but you guided me. You gave me strength." Mira smiled, a rare expression of warmth. "And you found strength you did not know you had. That is the gift of the chains. They test you, and if you endure, they teach you the power within yourself." The crew gathered together, united in relief and triumph. The prison's heart was quiet now, dormant, reshaped by courage and endurance. The chains remained as marks on Rian's arms, but now they symbolized survival, not punishment. As the ship drifted away from the prison structure, the stars returned to their normal brilliance. Rian flexed his glowing arms, the marks soft and steady, a reminder of the journey they had endured. He realized that he had not only shared Mira's sentence, he had survived it. And in doing so, he had learned that courage, unity, and endurance could reshape even the strongest chains. Mira stood beside him, calm and proud. "Your sentence was shared, but you have transformed it. You carry it, yes, but not as a prisoner. You carry it as one who has endured and survived." Rian nodded, a smile breaking through his exhaustion. "Then let's go home, together." The crew settled into their ship, ready to leave the remnants of the prison behind. Outside, the stars sparkled normally, as if nothing had happened. Inside, they carried the memory of trials, courage, and the bond that had turned the sentence into a lesson of strength. And for Rian, the glowing marks on his arms were no longer a burden. They were proof that even the most impossible chains could be faced, endured, and ultimately transformed.